Why do Muslim countries behead criminals with capital punishment? Okay, so the answer for that question is not that hard. You have a lot of countries that have capital punishment, Muslim and non-Muslim. Some countries choose to execute their criminals by injecting with drugs. Some of them choose electrocution. Some of them choose a firing squad. Muslim policy prescription says you gotta slice their head off with a sword. Now, I understand that it looks ghastly. It looks barbaric. But there are two reasons why it is nothing like what ISIS is doing. First of all, it is the most merciful way of executing a person, because you're executing the person from the back, from the medulla oblongata. So as soon as you slash a person from there, they wouldn't feel anything. So it takes less than half a second, less than 1/10 of a second to slice the person off. Before he even feels something, it's all over. That's not the case when you're executing a person with drugs or electrocution, which can take a while. The reason why America had to change their style of execution from one mode to another was because it was taking a while for the person to die, and he was suffering through that execution. So they had hanging, then they switched to electrocution, and now they have drugs, and now they're debating on the efficacy of these drugs. How successfully are you able to execute the person? Sometimes people have taken as long as 10 minutes to die with the existing combination of drugs. So this is actually a really good solution of execution. Now, you can have a debate about whether or not you should have capital punishment to begin with. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that if you have capital punishment, what option would you prefer to die? Would you rather go for a quick death or slow and painful death? So it's all about the magnitude. So to say that execution that is done in the Sharia criminal law is the same as what ISIS is doing, no, it's not. Because the reason why ISIS is non-Muslims, the reason why they're mercenaries working for somebody else, anybody but Muslims, is because they don't understand how you're supposed to execute a person by Sharia. Sharia says you got to make it as merciful as possible. You got to give the man an option to be able to recite whatever he wants to recite. It's just like any other criminal justice system. It's in America, you get a last meal, you get your last words, and then they go ahead with the process of execution. In Sharia, they're going to ask the man to publicly state whatever he wants to say and maybe apologize to the family, and then proclaim his belief in the oneness of God before he's about to die, and then they slash him in the most merciful manner than any other system that you can think of. Now, what ISIS is doing is obviously just holding the person and cutting the neck, slashing the neck off with a knife, or setting them on fire, which is a major sin in Islam. It has nothing to do with Islam. So that should debunk the myth of, oh, they're slashing people in the Meccan square, so they're just as brutal as ISIS. No, they're not, because they're just as brutal as the American justice system, which is doing the executions. You can argue for that, but you can't say they're the same as ISIS.